The champion's cudgel is a massive two-handed warhammer that just seems to be made for smashing skulls and destroying limbs. With its unique appearance and deadly enchantments that just seems to suck the life out of any opponent, it's little to wonder that its very uniqueness makes it one of the most deadliest and greatest weapons in all of Skyrim. But we're not here to talk about that. Despite all of this, how many of you actually asked the questions, where did it come from? How was it made? And how the hell did it end up in the hands of a revived corpse of a general that's well over 200 years old? Well, in this video, I hope to answer some of these questions. So, without further ado, let's take a seat by the fire. And let me tell you a story. It's the beginning of the Third Era. The East Empire Company, fueled by greed and a desire to just spread its influence across all of Vardenfell and beyond, sets its sights on a flourishing island of Solstheim. With its ebony mines and its convenient location between Vardenfell and Skyrim, the island seemed ripe for the taking. Upon arriving in Solstheim, the East Empire Company needed a base of operations to call home for the time being. And that place happened to be a wonderful and beautiful and so-called enchanting fortress called Fort Frostmoth. Fort Frostmoth quickly became the biggest fort in the whole island. With its amazing cobblestone structures, amazing walls, and elite garrisons, it's little wonder for this. However, despite its impressive size, it could not overcome the grueling life that the fort provided. The weather was horrible. No civilization for miles, and the meat was considered poison. What's the priorities, people? Being stationed at this fort was considered a punishment for all those stationed there. Anyone who to have to volunteer to be there would have to be considered insane. Well, unless, of course, your name was Felix Carius. Yeah, that's his name. Well, who the hell is this guy? I'll tell you who this guy is. This guy seemed to be ambition reincarnate. I mean, you would have to be if you were willingly volunteer to be the captain of this hellhole stronghold. I'll tell you who Felix Carius was. He was a guy that was full of ambition, willingness to do what's right, whether it be for the better or worse. There's debate as to actually why he volunteered to be at the stronghold. Some say he had a death wish. Some say he lost a bet. But I'd say that he took the opportunity to be completely independent from everyone and everything. He was an amazing leader, strict but fair, and led by example. He turned the fort into an amazing settlement at this point. Things were looking up. And things were looking good for Felix as he was slowly earning the admiration of not only his men, but from the higher-ups. However, in the following months of the year 427, the Blood Moon prophecy came to fulfillment, and he was selected to take part in the Daedra Prince Hircine's hunting games, going through literal hell that somehow managed to survive this ordeal, brushing this literal PTSD event and returned to the fort where he was stationed for the next several years, eventually rising to the rank of general. However, tragedy once again struck when, after the Oblivion Crisis ended the Third Era and the Fourth Era began. Just 5 years into this new era, the Red Mountain would once again erupt, completely destroying the fort and covering all of Solstheim in a thick layer of ash. Along with the complete destruction of the fort, Felix would unfortunately be killed by the debris covering from the eruption. And I tell you, this is where I really feel for this man. To go through to be literally sucked into another realm of oblivion and had to participate in a hunting game to the death while being chased by werewolves, surviving to your very edge of your life, and then when all that's done, to be stationed at a fort, in the worst fort imaginable, only to be killed by flying rocks. Yeah, that's gotta suck. But anyways, back to the story. The fort lay in complete ruins, never to be rebuilt again. And it was like this for the next 2 centuries, until one day an apprentice of Master Neloth himself, I'm going to butcher this name, Iludria Saharla, I'm going to go with that, discovered him. She had a dark secret within her, and that was her fascination with necromancy and finding this fort completely abandoned and having perfectly preserved corpse from the ash. She began her experiments on one such corpse, and that corpse was the man fox himself. Her experiments ended up being a complete success, using the power of heartstones to give the bodies enough fuel to move around and even talk. However, the bodies started getting paranoid and unusually aggressive, and because of this, she was forced to flee the fort, leaving it in the hands of reanimated corpses, my bad. And Phlox was once again in charge, but not in the same way he was before. Full of paranoia and uncontrollable rage, he declared so-called war on the whole island of Solstein. In order to be prepared for the up-and-coming war, as he calls it, he needed to make a weapon that to not only break all the bones in a body, but to feel the whole wrath of the elements. The weapon, as you know it, became the champion's cudgel. It is unknown how he managed to make such a perfectly unique and deadly warhammer, but it's believed that throughout his whole years being a general and a captain led him to being able to forge such an amazing weapon and to teach those Dunmer a lesson. However, he made one fatal mistake. Not being caught up on modern news because, he was dead and all and just a reanimated corpse, Raven Rock was currently under the protection of the very last Dragonborn. By sending Ash Spawn to attack Raven Rock, he earned the wrath of the said Dragonborn, and he went to Fort Frostworth with the intent of destroying the whole damn place. The Dragonborn shouted, slashed, and bashed everything in sight until they made their way all the way to the main chamber where Phlox was held. After a short but fierce fight, Phlox was finally destroyed for good, and the champion's cudgel ended up in the Dragonborn's hands. This is unfortunately where the story of Phlox Kalas ends. This once very prominent, charming, charismatic, led through example leader met his end. And I have to say, what an amazing story from such an underrated character. He went through literal hell in Oblivion, battling Hircine in his hunt. Managed to raise a fort from nothing into something, only to be killed by a volcano. And then, just when he thought he found peace, he was reanimated into a corpse to just be a puppet on some crazy necromantic strings. He broke free of that, only to just end up being a shadow of his former self. But I have to say, even though he is gone, the memory of him lives on in this amazing Warhammer. And I have to say, we write its next chapter. And with Phlox Kalas behind us, I have no doubt we will be a good story to read. Well, the stuff you learn, I swear. Oh, man. I really hope you all enjoyed this video. I tried my best to do my research as much as possible, and if there's anything that I got wrong, per se, I'd really appreciate it if you could tell me in the comments. I love learning all I can about these weapons and learning about them, and I hope you all learned something new as well. Thank you for watching, and if you have any options or wish for me to cover any other weapons, please let me know. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a nice day.